Hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Eden Zero, Chapter 152. When we last left our heroes, after Wise destroyed Nase's Sea Devil armor and rendered his hypnosis abilities unusable, Nase beat a hasty retreat and managed to escape. Wise's overdrive left him so drained of ether that he was not really able to put up a pursuit. And then we headed to Rebecca and Lyra, where we learned that Rebecca is stuck playing a game called Lost Card, where every time she loses a round, she loses some clothing. Which, I'm not super big on, but kind of know what I'm getting into at this point sometimes. But also, when she runs out of clothes, she can start losing body parts, which kind of leads into her sort of horror flash forward from the previous chapter. Then Shiki comes in, seemingly to save the day, to stop the game, but he is kind of caught by Callum, another member of the Ocean Six, leading to a Shiki versus Callum fight in the very near future. And then, back with Homura, she escapes the mirror world and runs into Creed of Justice's squad, who, as you may recall, has a bit of a crush on her. So yeah, all that being said, let's jump right on into Chapter 152, Lost Card. So this chapter is probably going to be a very heavy Rebecca chapter. Our picture here is of, Rebecca and Homura both in kind of very different maid outfits. Rebecca looked kind of like this German barmaid aesthetic, and there's something a little bit more Eastern in Homura's aesthetic, which fits her character. But I'm not going to go too deep into a maid cover. That's not really my thing. Anyway, we open where we left off, with Creed and Homura. And Creed asks, "What are you doing here?" "I would ask you the same." And Creed looks at her. "I'm infiltrating this facility to stop Shora from using All-Link. But these tunnels are such a labyrinth. I got separated from my team. I can't use my comm." That's an interesting bit. Why can't he use his comm? Is there some kind of jamming signal in the air or something? And Homura looks at him. "Stop the All-Link, you say?" "I may not look it, but I am a government operative after all. So why are you here?" "My goal is the same, and I too have been separated from my friends, but I shall keep that to myself for now." And Creed just chimes in, "I can hear you, you know." So I've talked in the past, though, about how this arc is really good at showing kind of alliances of convenience between characters who normally would not really get along. As, tangentially, Justice is kind of allied with Elsie's allies by working with Oasis, who were kind of teamed up with the crew of Edens. And we see that in a more direct way here, as, Creed and Homura, who were kind of antagonists towards each other in the last major arc, here are kind of have the same goal, and so they can work together. It's another part of the really, really good, web of character motivations and character relationships that Mashima has been kind of crafting this entire series, and is continuing to pay dividends here. Anyway, Homura realizes that she said too much. "Oh no," and she kind of covers her mouth. And Kree kind of asks her, why do you want to stop the All-Link? And Homura tells him, "Because what Shora is attempting is unforgivable. He wishes to take the lives of all bots. Some of our friends are androids. We must stop Shora's evil plot at all costs." And Creed kind of blushes. It's very obvious the crush he has on her. In that case, could we work together? And Homer is kind of opposed to that after everything. Has he lost his mind? After what he did to me? He must be joking. And I wish I could say that to his face. So here we're seeing a bit of a kind of counter to my earlier point, though, is that while they're kind of on the same side, Homura does have some kind of lingering resentments after her imprisonment in the last arc, or back during Foresta, I mean. Though we'll see if she, I imagine she'll overcome that really pretty easily. Anyway, as she's kind of said what she was thinking out loud again, Creed sort of responds, "I can hear you, you know. I was only following orders of my superior officer. I meant you no harm. And Homura, nevertheless, you are Elsie's enemy, but I'm not yours." So again, we're sort of seeing, so I sort of figured we were maybe, ignoring the character relationships to focus on the shared goal. But we're sort of seeing it's a much more kind of those two concepts in opposition to each other than I was initially kind of expecting. Is that like Homura is still like, but you're our ally's enemy. Even if we share the same goal, I don't really want to work with you. I might not stop you, I might not fight you, but working together is like a bridge too far for her. Anyway, but I'm not yours. And Homer kind of shuts up at that as Creed continues. Elsie is a criminal, and just as dangerous as Nero, and there's a reason we're after her. But this is different. What we want now is to stop Shora. So there's an interesting thing, is that what does Creed know about the shared history between Elsie and Justice? Is he aware that, Elsie kind of destroyed her kingdom for some as of yet unexplained reason? Does he know the reason? It's a little bit unclear, but not like in a bad way. It's more like, what does he know that we don't? But this is very much sort of continuing that theme of Homer is putting their relationships on a higher level, and Creed is putting the mission on a higher level. We have the same mission, let's work together. Also, he kind of likes her, and he wants to sort of make their relationship stronger. But Homer is, you're the enemy of my friend, and so I can't really work with you. Which, like, given her, membership of being captained by the friendship guy, is not out of character to focus more on those relationships than on the mission. Anyway, Homer just tells him, I do not trust you. And Creed just shouts, but I could never lie to someone as beautiful as you. And Homer just freezes. Huh? And Creed realizes what he said. Oh. And then the scene changes, and we come to Happy and Pino, who have been unhypnotized after the jammers went up. Where are Rebecca and Wise? Why aren't they here? I hypothesized that something happened while we were hypnotized. And she kind of scans her memories, checking my logs from when I was under hypnosis. Apparently, I was under the impression that I was a mole. And when she's just kind of embarrassed about this, Happy laughs. A mole? And Moscow, Moskoy. They, however, don't know what they were. Anyway, Pino continues. Mr. Wise continued to fight against the hypnotist. Our hypnosis is now broken, so I deduce that he was victorious. The problem is Miss Rebecca. Someone took her away while we were all hypnotized. And that causes Happy to kind of panic. Oh no, Rebecca! And Moscow goes over and presses a button. And a cartoon starts playing of a cat kind of superhero fighting a fish. Okay, I might be looking too much into this, but Rebecca has a lot of cat imagery attached to her, obviously. The Nero Empire has a lot of fish imagery attached to it, obviously. Is that supposed to be some kind of metaphor for what's going on in this arc? I might be looking too deep into it. Also, beyond just Rebecca, there's also Goodwin, who is just a giant cat. So that could be Oasis fighting the Empire, kind of summed up in that cartoon. But Pino walks up to him. I do not recommend watching cartoons in these circumstances. Oh, sorry. I saw the TV and had this massive urge. Which of course would fit with Moscow's long desire to push the button. I'll change the channel. And Happy snaps, that's not the problem! But he changes the channel to Rebecca and the Lost Card Game. As Lyra kind of leans into the camera, okay everybody, it's time to start the show! And the bots all kind of react to this as we come to the actual location of the card game. As this sort of table materializes between Rebecca and Lyra. The rules of Lost Card are very simple. We each get 5 cards, numbered 1 through 5. We set them face down on the table. Then we turn the table and each pick a card at the same time. Whoever picks the card with the highest number wins. Okay, that's a pretty simple game, but also one that's really easy for as Rebecca kind of noted last chapter, her to cheat for. She can kind of see what card Lyra would pick, and then rearrange it so that she picks 1, allowing Rebecca to always win. Though again, she can only do that twice, so it gets kind of dangerous. But Rebecca sort of counters, what the? You don't think that's too simple? But Lyra responds, simple is best after all. But there's no way to plan or strategize or anything. Are you sure about that? And Rebecca doesn't really respond to that, but says, I was imagining something more like a trading card game. But maybe I lucked out. With rules like that, I can definitely get 2 wins with my reverse ability. Which is kind of what I was getting at, but she still, I think, needs more than 2 wins there. Anyway, this fish MC walks up. Now, let's start the game. Both of you set your cards down. And Rebecca sets them. Turn the table. And Rebecca is shocked for a sec. And she sees that Lyra has stacked 4 cards on top of each other and left 1 out. What? Why would she do that? And she turns to the judge. Is she allowed to overlap cards? Of course. There is no problem with that. I see. So she's using psychological warfare. So I think she wants Rebecca to think that the lowest card would be the one out there. That she's kind of signaling Rebecca pick this card. So Rebecca doesn't pick that card and instead picks the number... Instead picks one of the stacked cards. But I think the 5 might be that open card. Now, both of you pick a card. And Rebecca kind of thinks, there's 1 card apart from the stack. He's trying to get me to draw it? Or not? I don't know. I'm very curious about that card. But no, there are other cards I need to focus on. The card on the bottom of that stack. Psychologically speaking, that's the card she least wants me to pick, so it would be 5. Yeah, she's getting tricked. It's not going to be 5. That's going to be 1. But she could also want me to think it's 5 when it's actually 1. The card on the top of the pile is just as suspicious. I'll just start by getting a feel for the game. If I go for the middle cards in the stack, I should get 2, 3, or 4. Show your cards. So first I'll check that theory. And she grabbed the 1. 1? And we see Lyra. I got the 5. Okay, so I want to think back to what we saw of Lyra's ether. Back in, whenever she first showed it to the troops. The ability to change black into white and white into black, tied up with cards. I think she can choose which cards someone picks right from the get-go. That's my working theory. Is that she can always make it a 1 and a 5 with her ether by cheating. Which means I think the way to prove that is to watch Lyra. Maybe that's the trick to ending the game. But why would the 1 be here? And how did she know where my 5 was? I just put them down at random. And Lyra grins, random? Oh no, you put it exactly where I predicted. And Rebecca starts to kind of panic now. How? Round 1 goes to Lyra. Yay! And then she turns to Rebecca. Let's see. Let's start with those arm covers. And apparently they both kind of count. She loses both of them at the same time. They're lost! And the crowd goes wild because they're all creeps. Back underground, Shiki looks up and hears the noise. What? What happened? And Callum also looks up. The show started. And I think it's showtime for us, too. And the same thing happens again, a 1 and a 5. 1 again? I got 5 again. Round 2 goes to Lyra. Okay, your stockings are lost. So now she's down to like her headband and her is it a leotard? Whatever the proper term for it is. It's not looking great for Rebecca. The crowd goes wild. Woohoo! Check those bare legs. Place your cards. Turn the table. Show your cards. That time Rebecca actually wins. Maybe an attempt on Lyra's part to make the game seem fair. I did it. I got 4. Oh, I got 2. There go my leggings. Lost. And Rebecca kind of reacts. You're starting with that? Oh, don't worry. This is a swimsuit. So the crowd again goes wild. I got the 5. It was Rebecca, and Lyra got 4. My jacket is lost. And then she kind of grins. We have to give the crowd what they want after all. So yeah, she's losing on purpose here. She is absolutely manipulating this game. I think she's changing what the cards are after they're thrown down. I think that's her ability. From here on out, I mean business. Show your cards. And she got 5, and Rebecca got 1 again. Those shoes are lost. That's 5 again. 1. Round 5 goes to Lyra. Lost your headband. Yeah, again, you have to sort of I think she has to look at Lyra. And she's now down to a single piece of clothing. She kind of growls, like, very uncomfortable. And now, you're down to that leotard. I can't let her beat me. I'll change that last loss into a win. Time to use reverse. And she goes back in time. Round 6. Place your cards. She thinks, yes, got my ears back. So hold on. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing to note. Is that when Rebecca loses the headband, it's round 5. Round 5 goes to Lyra. She goes back in time, and the announcer says, round 6, place your cards. Yes, got my ears back. So we're trapped in her ether. I can already see that. And it's a different round. She doesn't seem to have realized yet. Last time she took the 5, which I had here. I'll replace it with the 1. Turn the table. I remember which cards were where. This was the 1, this was the 5. I know it's cheating, so sorry. Show your cards, but I can't afford to lose. And she's drawn the 1. Because again, it's Lyra using her ether. 5 again! See? How? And Rebecca's panicking now. How did it turn out the same as last time? I changed my card placement and I knew where hers were. Lost your headband. And now, you're down to that leotard. That line, though, is the same as what Lyra said earlier. And she kind of taunts Rebecca. The thing is, I've played this game over 100 times and I've only lost once. The only person to ever beat me was Emperor Nero. I lost all my clothes and then my left eye. Hehehe. I know. After I strip you naked. Maybe. I'll erase your legs. And Rebecca's just panicking. How? How? I turned back time, but I still can't win. And that's how the chapter ends. Okay. So, if you can ignore the blatant fan service, there's a lot of really, really interesting things going on here. But it's definitely going to be one of those, your mileage may vary depending on how comfortable you are with some of the antics on display. But Lyra's ability is... Maybe it's just, as a lifelong, Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan, I'm always sort of down for card tricks or whatever. But it's definitely a really interesting ability. It does seem a little niche. That's probably the only real complaint with it. What we've seen of Milani and Nase, both have, and even Callum, have abilities that can work in multiple situations. But it does kind of seem like Lyra requires the card game. She does not use these tricks, like put the bomb collar on Rebecca, while she's hypnotized. She can't really do a whole lot. But yeah, it's really just a card battle. It's interesting. I really want to figure out the trick. I have my theories as to the trick. I think she's just changing the cards with her ether. Which admittedly is kind of the simplest solution. But it's also sort of, it's still pretty interesting, and I want to see exactly what she's doing. And of course, we have that sort of reminder of that hellish future. Maybe I'll erase your legs, Lyra says. Which is, not a great sign. Of course, the problem is I don't want to see Rebecca's big fight this arc, prominently feature her being stripped down for the entertainment of a bunch of horny men. She deserves better, all in all. But the game itself, if you ignore it's one of those things, whenever I have the rare opportunity to talk about Fire Force's Rekka fight, I talk about how, the fight itself is super engaging, and then it gets incredibly sidetracked by horny Tamaki antics. And it's a similar thing here. I'm really interested in this card game, but it's wrapped up in this nudist show, that I'm just really not here for. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Lost Card. The rest of the chapter, though, we still have this scene with the bots, which is some good comedy, and some imagery that is evoking the rest of the arc in that cartoon. Some good Moscow gags. He loves pushing buttons. And then we have this Creed and Homer a bit, which again is sort of wrapped up in their very different approaches to this issue. Is that Homer as you were our ally's enemy, and I can't quite work beyond that. I'm still sort of stuck in that mindset. And Creed is like, there's no reason to be stuck in that mindset. We're allies. We have the same goal. We can be allies now, even if we were enemies earlier. Also, I have a crush on you. He's not subtle at all about that, especially when he shouts, I could never lie to someone as beautiful as you. And that's like where their scene ends. So there's some good drama, some good character work going on in that scene. There's really just paying off all of the character work Mashima's and the web of alliances and motivations that Mashima has kind of been crafting from the very beginning. But the main focus here is that card game, and Rebecca is getting less and less of a chance of actually pulling this thing off. Unless she figures out what Lyra is up to very, very soon. She's kind of running out of time. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say for this week's chapter. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!